Hey, welcome to Critters in Taiwan, a D&D podcast about Critical Role, where a bunch of nerdy-ass voice actors sit around and play Dungeons and Dragons. I'm Ben in Kaohsiung,
I am Tim in Taiwan.
and we are sitting around. We're going to talk about the latest episodes of Critical Role. We're going to dissect them. We're going to break them down. We're going to talk about Legend of Vox Machina. We're going to talk about Campaign 1, Campaign 2, Campaign 3, one-shots, and everything in the Critical Role universe. If you don't know, now you know. Spoilers. If you're
All
not
spoilers.
all spoilers all the time. So if you're not caught up, now's your time to fuck off. Oh yeah, and language too. There might be some language issues. So if you're
Yeah, I
not
don't
into
think
that,
I think that was
also
pretty clear.
fuck
Yeah.
off.
Also, fuck off
yeah,
if you don't like people saying fuck off to you.
Yeah, that's right. So
There's
how you
lots
doing,
of
Tim?
new
You
shit,
all good up
because
there?
last time we didn't talk about 4, 5, and 6, so that might come up too, of Legend of Vox
absolutely.
Machina.
That's right. That's right. You've just recently caught up. So
Yeah, well, I blasted through them. It doesn't take that long. They're only
Dude.
20-some minutes or whatever. Yeah.
So good.
But
I can't stop thinking about them. They're so good.
we got three left in the first season, right?
Oh yeah, only 3, only 12. I wanted 20.
I don't know why I had it in my head that they were gonna, they had the 333, and then they were gonna have 10, which would like 10 would be the final episode. I don't know why I thought that, even though I see the what do they call it, the schedule, and it says 10 through 12, 10, 11, 12, yeah, 10 through 12.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
on the
7,
thing.
8,
I
9,
see it every time
10,
I
11,
watch
12.
an episode, and I'm just like, nope, episode 10 is gonna be the finale. I'm fucking.
I'm so happy
old.
that 12 because they're blasting through that arc. It's great.
They are, yeah.
But
We've talked about that, but we'll get to that.
We'll get to that. We'll get to
We'll
that.
get to that.
Let's first let's sit down and talk about episode 13,
Yeah.
A Dance of Deception.
You always got the name, A Dance of Deception.
A Dance of Deception. Another we talked about, just a quick one. We talked about last week about how there was the fashion episode and where they got all their outfits for the ball, and we talked about it as a little bit slow, a little bit loggy. They were just sort of sloggy, just sort of walking through things and going through the motions. I found this one similar. I found this episode a little bit like that as well. Had its great moments and some really funny stuff happening and great stuff. But again, not to get super negative about things, because I'm loving everything about this, but I do feel like it is a roller coaster. It is ups and downs and ups and downs. And I feel like it's D&D. They're just coming down, and now they're starting to rocket back up again. So I'm thinking the next couple of episodes are going to be stellar.
I think so too. I got a couple of points about that too.
I got a few. So yeah, we're gonna sit down. We're gonna discuss things now, but the first things first.
Yeah.
Roll.
And yeah, just right before the rollies, because we've got Legend of Vox Machina, if it wasn't clear in the last episode, we're going to first talk about Campaign 3, the new episode, and then go into Legend of Vox Machina, because
Absolutely,
there's plenty to talk about there, And I was thinking just outside tonight, when I got home from work, I'm like, one episode of Campaign 3, it's like 5 hours long, 4 or 5 hours long.
Sometimes 5 hours.
And
yeah.
3 episodes is an hour,
I know. Yeah.
But there's a lot of shit in there,
It's so much. Well, we know this, and this isn't spoiling anything for anybody. They're doing an entire campaign arc, the Briarwood arc for Legend of Vox Machina, which is 30 episodes, 40 episodes, something like that, right around there. And they're doing
40,
it in,
yeah.
And they're doing it in,
it's around 30. You're right.
Around 30, yeah. Episode 20 something to around episode 50 something, or around about there.
Yeah.
And they're doing
Craghammer first, and then
yeah, and then they're into the Briarwood arc. The Briarwood arc is it's like what is that? Like 30 times 4 is 120 to 140 hours. So they're compressing all of that into 4 hours basically.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's tough, but
there's lots of stuff, and we'll get into it. So first things first, let's get a roll.
Ready for that nat 20?
There's that nat 20. Right, it's not going to happen. Come on, you think you can get a nat 20? That's not going to happen.
Right off the
hop.
Have
you had a nat 20 yet?
No. Have you?
Didn't I get one?
I don't know.
I think I had one. The last one of the.
I think you've had several. I mean, it seems like you're winning everything. So
seems that way. I mean, hey, I'm gonna roll back this mouse pad so you can hear the dice roll. And here we go. Dude, like my last 6 rolls have been 11s.
Ooh, I got a 9.
Fuck, 9. God damn, 9. Yeah. All right, start with campaign 3. Okay, fuck. I've got one here that's like a quarter of a page. I wonder if I'm going to start with that. I think I might, because
Go
for
for it.
one, it's towards the top of my page, and also it's kind of related to what we were just talking about.
Perfect.
There
Do
was
it.
a tiny moment in this last episode where I'm hoping you have the names. If we don't have the name, is whatever. It doesn't matter. There
Hmm.
was Orem was looking around and he noticed it's an important name in the campaign so far,
Okay.
but I don't remember it. It starts with an A. Fuck. That's all and he was looking around and he saw this person standing on the side and he was like, "Well, is she like a wallflower or is she like doing a security detail or something like that?" And Matthew was like, kind of both, because he rolled like a 17 or 18 for his
Hmm.
perception or whatever it was, or insight or whatever the fuck it was.
You
And I was
know,
like,
just a quick little sidebar. You know why Orums are so high, right? It's that fucking shield that he's got. I think we
"Oh, is that
talked
what it
about that
is?"
last week. Well, you remember when he talked about his outfit, and he's like, I'm strapping the shield onto
Yeah.
my back as sort of like ornamental or whatever. That shield, if I remember right, this comes from EXU. That shield has a minor enchantment on it that gives him advantage on all perception checks.
Oh, advantage.
Yeah, that's
I
why
guess
he's
that makes
always, if you
sense because they did
notice,
say at advantage, of
yep,
course.
yes, as if you
Huh.
notice, he's always rolling 2d20s for perception checks.
Huh. Yeah.
Anyway,
So
sorry, I didn't mean, but that's why his perception checks are so high.
yeah. So he rolled fairly high, and that's kind of a minor point of it. This kind of goes into how the last two episodes have been kind of slow, and it's gotten me
Mm-hmm.
a little bit nervous. I'm going to be honest with you, Ben.
Mm-hmm,
A little
mm-hmm,
nervous because I know that Matthew's laid so much groundwork. There's so much groundwork going on. There's stuff going on in fucking Taldore. There's stuff going on in Wildmount. There's stuff going on in fucking Marquette, right? And he's got all this stuff laying down. And right now, I feel like things are going so slow that the thought popped into my mind that maybe he doesn't have enough prepared. I know how
Ooh.
fucking stupid that sounds. I've
That's a
seen the
bold
first
statement.
campaign, I've seen the second
Mm-hmm.
campaign. I
Mm-hmm.
know how prepared Matthew is, but I haven't seen enough yet, and I'm getting nervous that he's not
No.
ready for something. And I don't like that. I don't like that feeling
I'm
because I'm pretty sure it's not true, but I need some proof soon.
I'm gonna counter that with my first point, which is going
Okay.
to be the entire. This was the first thing I wanted to say about this
Okay,
was
great. And I'm going to come back with it too
how
because I got the second half of this one. So go ahead.
sure. Oh, okay. You good? Okay.
I'll come back
So
to it. Yeah, I'll come back to it. Go ahead.
perfect. So this was going to be my first point. And it's sort of like it goes to near the end of the ball when FCG was on the outside. I've written most of it down here. FCG was on the periphery. Chetney's over talking to Cyrus Wyver, Wind. Orem and Imogen are moving in with Imogen doing her telepathy.
Yep.
Ashton is watching for Gianna Hexam. Dorian and Fern begin their dance, and Matt still got he's got all of these characters running around doing all of their own individual things. And he's got all of the NPCs running around doing their individual
It's
things
so much,
while
man.
they're in multiple rooms because Chetney's over in the other fucking suite dealing with that crazy nonsense we'll talk about, I'm sure, at some point. And there's stuff going on with the mask that Ashton's all of these plates that Matt's got up in the air spinning, and he's figuring out and he's connecting threads. I don't think there's a chance in hell he is not prepared for everything that's going on.
Not possible, right?
No, it's
Must
not
have it.
possible. This episode so far, out of all the 12 before it, this one convinced me that Matt is at the very, very top of his game, probably the game, but his game definitely, for having all of his ducks in a row and knowing what's going on. The flawless way that he balanced all of these plates and all of these balls, juggling all of them all up in the air flawlessly without anything, convinces me he knows exactly what's going on, and he's fully ready for everything that's going to happen.
All right, all
I
right.
think. I
I'm,
think.
I, I'm. This is why I talk with you, man, because I'm happy to hear that. Because I'm sitting there these last two episodes, like,
Mm.
oh, and I talked to my other buddy, another critter here in Taiwan. He's like, what's going on? You know, like he's a battle guy. Like he just like
Right.
tunes in and he just loves
For
the
the
battle
combats.
parts. No,
Right.
RP
Right.
is not really his jam, you know.
Gotcha.
Whereas I'm kind of the opposite, where it's like
Mhm.
first time through battle, I'm fucking all over it. But when I watch through like the first campaign right now, I'm on my third watch through.
Yep.
I kind of know how the battles go because I know how the
Yep.
results are. But the nat ones and the nat 20s, I'm just like, oh, I'll rewind and I'll watch it again.
Yeah. Yeah.
But basically
Like,
the other
that's cool.
stuff, I kind of know what's gonna happen.
Yeah, because you know where they're gonna move and what's gonna happen, the outcomes eventual. Yeah,
So
absolutely.
I'm basically
Not
watching
like
for the RP stuff, and then the occasional battle stuff. Like I just went through the
Sure.
the Kevdak fight, where he
Ah,
gets
nice.
bamfed out and
Oof.
fucking takes
Oof.
the damage and goes on. Oh,
So good. So good.
so
Yeah,
good.
I know.
And all that
Such a great.
planning, finally it worked out.
Yeah,
But anyway,
it
that's
did.
a
Yeah.
digression. What I liked about this was I got that hint, I got that little glimpse of hope when Matthew, she had this chick. I wish I remembered her name, and she's important somehow. They've talked to her in the past. She has something to do with something, but I don't remember what it was. I've only seen this episode twice. And then
was that the mother of the Loomis twins?
it might be. It's
I
somebody
think
important.
so.
It's somebody
Yeah,
with a
I
name.
think it
and
was
I'm pretty sure it
her.
starts
I
with
don't.
an A.
Yeah, well, the only one that has to start with an A is Ajit.
The Ajit.
What's the?
And I don't know who Ajit
Well,
is.
Armand.
Or Ajit.
There's Armand Treshy. There's Ajit Dial. Armand Treshy is the dwarf, the tall dwarf.
Yeah.
That's not who you're thinking of. It was the I think you're thinking of the Loomis twins' mom, who is, oh boy.
Do you have a
I
name?
don't know. No, I could probably find it.
Yet. If you know the name, put it in the fucking comments if we don't come up with it.
Nightmare King.
And I might be getting the characters wrong too. I'm not really sure. But he noticed that she was on the side and he was asking wallflower or detail or something like that. And I don't remember. Oh, fuck. Anyway, at some point, Cyrus comes.
Janang Ella is the mother of the Loomis twins.
Maybe it's the last name that I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
One more time, the last
Could
name?
be Ella, ELA.
Oh, fuck. Yeah. All right. So maybe I'm way off on the goddamn name.
Anyway, I don't. I'm not. I kind of vaguely remember the moment you're talking about, but yeah. Anyway,
it's that was the first part where I was thinking when I was watching that and listening to it the first time, I was like, maybe Matthew's just making it up. I don't know. At this point, I don't know in the last episode and this one if he's just pulling shit out of his ass or not, because there hasn't been a whole lot going on. So I don't know if he's just like winging it or if he's actually fucking impeccably prepared like he always is.
Right.
And then later on, when he just stands up and goes and whispers to Liam, with his perception or whatever.
That was a wonderful moment. That's one of my favorite moments.
So
I
strange,
love. Well, it's only happened a few times in 3 campaigns where there have been unsolicited whispers, where it's just like, oh, he rolled this like 10 minutes ago. I'm carrying perception checks over this far, so now I need to go and tell him something that was I love that shit, man. I love that where it's just like unsolicited. You're like, hey, buddy, come here. I got something to tell you. And it's like, what? Sorry, again, it's one of those things. This is the Matt Mercer effect that we all need to be paying attention to. This is how, this is the good part of the Matt Mercer effect, where it teaches us how really, really good people do things in a relatable way. We can take these moments, these little cues and things that happen in D&D and translate them. Like, myself as a new DM, I can now do that to other players. I'll be like, hey, your passive perception is like 18. It's off the charts. I need to tell you something right now. I'm saying this in my inner monologue. I'll be like, hey, come here for a second. Then I walk away and then we have a little whisper conversation away from the group. It's like, where did Ben learn how to do that? Well, Ben learned how to do that on Critical Role. Yeah. It doesn't require any like Dwarven Forge terrain. It doesn't require any amazing set or studio or any voices or any voice acting or any of those things. It just requires a little bit of understanding of a better way to play the game.
Mm-hmm.
That's all.
Yeah, it's wonderful that and also at the table they have that trust where like they're not gonna break RP, especially now. After campaign 1, they're not gonna like that pigeon's not there so much anymore.
There was a fun little metagaming pigeon that popped out in this episode that made me giggle.
Yep.
Yeah.
Chetney was
Travis,
like, fucking sky rats.
Yeah. Travis missed. He'd missed a name. Matt stared at him, said the name, and all the rest of the table were like, "Oh, that's Travis's guy." And Travis was like, just completely oblivious, no clue what was going on.
Yeah.
That made me giggle. Like, yeah, even like, Travis has often said, he's like, this is my Thursday night is my game night. It's when I forget about the rest of the world and I go to play games with my friends. And that's sort of what his thing is. So does he sort of come in with a little bit of a laissez-faire attitude? Yeah, absolutely. Because that's his MO. That's why he's playing it. It's, it's wonderful. Anyway, digress.
So with that, and I might be getting these characters wrong, but I'm pretty sure after that, Cyrus, Dorian's brother, he comes in and he stands next to that person that that Orem was asking about.
Oh, you're
pretty sure
talking
that's-
about yes, you're talking about
You got a name.
Emoth Cade or Cade. I'm not really sure how they pronounce the
Okay.
Emoth Cod. That was the one. That was the lady that came in with Armand Treshy.
Okay.
So they came
I'm
in
getting
together.
Armand confused with. Okay,
there you go.
Emoth.
Right.
Okay.
So right, because she went over in the ball and went over and leaned against the wall, and Ashton was also clocking her.
Right.
Actually walked over to her and started talking to her. Failed miserably at his sort of persuasion, charisma check, as a barbarian should.
As he does.
And was like, and then she ignored him and then walked away. And then Chetney went after her and followed her into the suite. Right. So you're talking about Emoth Cade.
Okay.
No, it's spelled Kade, Emoth. Emoth.
It's cod. They say
Cade.
cod, don't they?
But they keep saying cod, but it's spelled Kade. So I'm like, Cade?
Some languages, man.
Cod?
Yeah, it's like French, like there's that fighter now. His name's Cyril Gane, but it looks like Gain, but it's pronounced Gone.
But it's gone. Yeah.
So maybe it's a French thing. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that gave me a little bit of that hope when she was over there and Orem was clocking her and he was like, asking this stuff, and then later he whispers to Orem like, you see Cyrus, man, like
you see Cyrus over on the side,
which is fucking stupid for that character to do.
Not just came in, had already been there, and you just now clocked him,
right?
You noticed
and
him,
then he went and stood next to her, and when I saw that, as small as that is, it's a tiny little thing. But it got me just like, okay, Matthew's on board. He's got it. Okay, he's planned everything out. He's got everything figured out. Because I was getting worried. Funny. I was getting nervous. I shouldn't let that happen.
Nope.
But as soon as that little thing happened, I was like, okay, finally. Dropped my pencil there. It was a breath of fresh air that indeed Matt has his shit planned. This was proof. I trust Matt that has the groundwork, but he was improvising. I was a little nervous. Okay, yeah. That was basically the end of it. It was my longest point on the page where I was like, oh, good. Thank you, Matthew, for showing me, not you, not anybody else, showing me that you still got your finger on the pulse.
Oh, hell yeah. That's
minor
awesome.
Little point, but a big, not a tiny
minor
detail,
point.
But a big fucking.
Yeah. Right. Well, little things turn into big things.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know that whole physics thing where a feather can knock down a skyscraper?
Sure.
That whole dominoes thing where it gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and then it becomes
totally. Yeah.
Anyway,
the little that they have that infographic of the domino, right? Yeah.
Yes, where the domino just gets incrementally bigger each time, and then all of a sudden the domino is the size of a skyscraper and it falls down.
All right. Crossing that huge point out. Is that reading in the camera? I can't tell.
Yeah, I see it.
Big old X on the page.
Excellent. Excellent. Okay, I'll do mine then. Sure. If that's you, I'll throw mine out there.
That's me. I'm just relaxing now. I get to relax.
I'm gonna
I've got my mojo back.
my point is, it's a big one. It's like not a big point, but it's like a far-reaching point. It's that it doesn't matter how prepared these guys are. It doesn't matter how many games of D&D they've played. It doesn't matter how many different campaigns they've played, or this is third campaign and multiple one-shots and EXU and all of this stuff and all of the other things that they've done outside of Critical Role. I bet some of them play outside of Critical Role. Maybe they do. Maybe they don't. I don't know. I know Matt does for sure.
Liam does.
Yeah, I know a couple of them do. Yes. Well, yeah, that's right. They play home games. Brian and Ashley have their own home game as well.
Oh, they do.
Anyway,
they Brian did. I didn't know if Ashley was involved.
Yeah, Ashley's involved in it.
Oh,
so
nice.
she's brought it up a couple of times. My point is, they had the entire last episode to talk about stuff. They had the entire week afterwards to plan. They like out of game, like on their text threads or whatever. When they arrive at the ball, they have no plan to get the ring. They have a bunch of ideas that have sort of like harebrained and whatever. But those moments
That's
where
part of what I'm talking about. I'm like,
where Sam
yo.
is like, remember they're in the separate carriages, and Sam is, or FCG is like, well, I'm sure Orem is doing this, and I'm sure Dorian has this idea.
I think
he's
that
like,
was like one of those little pigeon things. It's like, of course, because we talked about this. Of course, that's the plan.
Of course, that's what they're going to do, because that was the plan.
That was the pigeon moment, wasn't it? The metagaming pigeon moment.
That was one of them.
One of a couple, maybe.
there was another one where they actually did the meta pigeon noise. But I was just like, you've talked about this. You've clearly had discussions about this off camera. You've had many discussions about this on camera, and yet you are still walking in here half-assing it. And that's part of the charm, but I think it's hilarious. Like, I'm not saying that they should have a plan and then that plan should work, because plans never work in D&D.
Almost never. Like I think they're
almost never
in all three campaigns.
It just doesn't happen.
Fewer than
even
5.
when you have a plan. Yeah. Even when you have a plan, it doesn't come off exactly the way you want it to. You might get the result you want. I mean, even in this case, spoiler alert, they did get the ring. They swapped it out. It did not work the way I wanted to, and it was all sort of fly by the seat of their pants. It really, really made me laugh, because it's like no plan. We've got a plan. And then we've got no plan. We've got a plan. We got no plan. We got a plan. No plan. Just back and forth. I was giggling away. I'm like, this is so on brand, and I love it.
It's on brand for these group of people. I mean, like way back in campaign 1, it's like there's always these jokes, like even from like guest players who come in. They're like, oh yeah, I heard that you guys were like great at planning or something like that.
Yes,
they're clearly not, because like you said, in their threads, and they talk to each other throughout the week. They're probably a lot more busy now than they used to be. So maybe a little bit less talking, but it still happens because they got to be prepared for Thursday.
Oh yeah,
but
absolutely.
So many times they'll have all these plans, and then the 5 minutes before they actually execute, it's a completely different plan, because they're at the table, and then they're like, "Wait, what about this?" And they're like, "Why didn't you think of that 2 days ago?" Fuck.
And
they change the entire plan.
Or in this case, Fern is like, well, no, how about if I do this instead? And they're like, no, wait, we can't.
And everyone's like, I guess now what's happening? And that's so Fern.
Amazing. It's so good. It's so good. It's just, I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
That's all my point is. That's
before we move on, there were a couple of things that I missed. And since you brought that one up, before we go on to the next rollie, I got the impression that the swap had happened because there was throwing the ring at somebody. There was kicking the ring.
Got weird. It got weird really fast. I've got a point about
they
this.
had a plan, and I was waiting for that plan, and it didn't fucking go that way. So I got lost a little bit.
Yeah.
So do you know how the switch happened? Because I know how the ring came off.
Yes. Okay. So
but I don't know how the other ring got on.
I wrote it down. So what happens is, Fern pulls the ring off at the very end of the dance as the cymbal crash happens.
Yeah,
as they're making the swap, she pops it off, and Armand Treshy realizes it right away. He's like, my ring's gone. And then she's like, I dropped the ring. Ping, ping, ping. Everybody sees it. Even Treshy sees the ring bounce across the floor. Orem comes in and kicks it away.
By accident.
By accident. Imogen and FCG come running in, and FCG knocks one of them out of the way. Fern reaches down, Fern knocks FCG knocks an NPC out of the way, who saw it,
kind of shoulder checks, right?
Orem checks. FCG comes in, grabs the ring, hands it off to Fern. Fern skyhooks the ring,
throws it
to Imogen. Imogen takes the ring. Now,
did she catch it? I don't remember. Did she catch it? I remember that was a big thing, and everybody was like, "Fuck, you're throwing it!" Oh my god!
Yes, she caught it. And then
did she have to roll for that?
Now I'm getting confused. I think so. shit. Now I'm not
I
totally
thought
sure.
Dorian was involved there,
You're
or
right.
he
There
was
might,
just seeing it. Like,
yes,
are
he
you
was,
kidding
because
me?
Dorian had the fake ring in his hand, and he
Right.
was just going to walk up. This is where Robbie really dropped the ball. He wasn't thinking about this, and him and Laura had that little tete-a-tete. There was like, Robbie, you need to give. He saw it. You have to swap it. He's like,
Right.
Robbie's like,
Right.
no, I have the fake ring. I just have to give it. It's like, well,
Yeah.
what about the real ring? Like, there's. Then all of a sudden
Like,
they
he has to
know
see
that there are two
you've
rings.
picked it up and said,
Yes.
"Here's your ring back, sir."
Yeah, and for whatever reason, Robbie didn't realize that at the moment. I'm really kind of curious what he would have done if he had walked up to Treshy and been like, "Here's your ring," and he's like, "That's not my ring. My ring's over there."
Right.
And there would have been a moment where it's like,
yeah.
uh-oh. And that's when I wonder if Matt was sort of salivating at that point, going, "Ooh, please do it, please do it, please do it," so I can foil
Is that when the next
completely
pigeon
your
came
plan.
in?
No, it came in with a Jeet Dial with Travis and the headmaster, the Goblin headmaster. I've got it written down here.
Okay.
And then anyway, then FCG hands off to Fern. Fern hooks it to Imogen. Imogen walks. Dorian walks over to Imogen, that's where the transfer happens of the fake ring with the real ring. And then Imogen goes, sir, I found it. I found your ring. And then Armand Treshy takes it, jams it onto his thumb, and then is like, fuck you, I'm out. And then
I missed that both times I watched through. I'm just like,
it's so convoluted because they're all yelling at each other because it was complete chaos. And this is sort of like that whole thing. I'm like, you planned for this, guys. How could you not figure out? It's just all you had to do was you get the real ring, swap it for the fake one, give him the fake one. It's like 3 steps. That's it. However it happens. But it seemed like all they cared about was just getting the real ring off. And then everything else after that was just lost.
Well, I mean, that's all that Ashley did. She was just like, all right, fuck it. I'm doing it right now. Like, just making a call. And I'm like, nice. I loved that call when she made that call. And I think maybe that's what, as a player, Robbie, maybe that's what threw him. You know,
I think so.
Like,
I think so. He was, because FCG right before that had given him not Fox's Cunning, Cat's Grace, which is advantage on dexterity checks.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, right, so I'm supposed to take the ring off. And then FCG's like, and I drop Cat's Grace on you and give you advantage on, or no, I gave myself, he gave himself a charisma checkers. I don't remember what he did to him.
He dropped the charisma on the people for their performance thing. He's like, no, I'm going to waste that 3rd level spell and just give you dexterity.
Give you dex. And then and that didn't work either. That wasn't necessary. So then he did. Yeah. It was like, I'm dropping that and I'm doing another, detect good and evil, I think at that point, or maybe that was before, I forget. FCG was blasting through spells, man. He cast a ton of spells at that one, which is going to be interesting because there's going to be some combat coming up in this next episode, and FCG is going to be a little bit tapped. So we'll see what happens with I'm sure Sam's smart about that, and he's got a few spells on lockdown. Like, he's not going to blow through those slots, but we'll see.
Yeah, and I'm curious about that whole sympathetic something. I forgot what it's called.
Sympathetic binding.
It means that if it's an ability or if it's a spell, I don't know.
It's an ability.
Okay.
He can do it. It's a channel divinity thing. Okay. So like they get like 1 or 2 every day, something like that. Yeah, depending on the level. Depending on the level, one or 2. I don't know that, but I know that because that's how clerics work. Is that the sympathetic binding would be there's another one of the guys that sits at my table. He's playing a battle medic, and they have an actual very similar thing where it's it's not called sympathetic binding, but it's called something like that, where they can it's a channel divinity thing. They can transfer hit points back and forth.
Okay.
Same sort of deal.
Yeah. Looking forward to figuring out what that FCG. You take 2. I can't wait to figure out what the fuck that is.
Yes. What is that?
At some point.
Oh, I'm super excited about what that's going to be. So, shall we do rollies again?
Yeah, geez, 1 point, 30 minutes in. Good Lord. I had a lot of questions about this one because there's a lot of shit towards the end. I wasn't really.
Let's blast through these. Let's go.
All right, let's go.
Oh, there we go.
A 9, for fuck's sake.
16. I got a 16.
Take it.
All right. Mine is a quick one. It's an FCG thing. The near the beginning of the day, beginning of the episode, where Chetney is like, "Hey, what's in there?" And he's like, "Can I look inside your mouth and take a look and see what's in that thermos?" And he jams the file in, and they have that moment about with the
RP was great in that one.
The RP was so funny, man. Sam acting as, even Matt is like, "Oh, Sam, you don't have to act.
Don't
it
have
out.
to RP.
Oh, just brilliant." But here's my thing. Okay, so there's this little compartment in there, right? Like in his gullet somewhere. That's like a thermos size. It's like a liter or a water bottle size.
Whiskey.
Oh yeah, exactly. Like there's in there. The file fits in. So here's my question about this. Where is his voice coming from? Is it coming from the diaphragm, or is it just coming from the head? Is it coming out of his mouth?
A lot about him or them that we don't know.
Now, here's my next question about
he
this.
can also be turned into a turtle.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Also that. Here's my next one. Remember when he's eating coins at night?
Yeah.
Why? So he's eating coins. They're repairing him as he eats copper. Thank you. They are eating coins.
If we're gonna have any popularity in America, we got to make sure we stick to the pronouns.
Right. I'm looking at listen. There's a one of the girls at my table. She is playing a he, and I get it wrong all the time. It's
gonna happen.
It was like those. It's like when Sam played not that they at that table they were yelling I look at him. What's he doing? It's like she is a little goblin girl. So it's tough.
It's because I'm a woman, isn't it?
Yeah. So here's my question. FCG eats coins at night to repair himself, right? He eats some copper coins and he gets better. He regains hit points over the long rest.
Yeah.
Why doesn't that happen when the file goes in?
They mentioned it, depending on what the file was made of, right? It might actually get incorporated in my system,
so,
right?
That's right. So I'm trying to figure out, like, what does that mean about this guy? What is up with, put that in conjunction with you take 2 points, right. Like, and then,
those about might be
maybe, and then and also like his remember when a few episodes ago when FCG started glitching, like he was unsure about what we couldn't remember, the all of these things. Like, there is some stuff with this bot that I am
with this fucking homebrew, man. You can speculate, but there's no. We can discuss it all we want. We'll probably never figure it out.
I just want, my point is, every episode I seem to find a little thing about FCG that just blows my mind. I'm like, what is it? What is it? It's driving me crazy. I must know.
Yeah. Response to that, if we're already at that point, is when they take like a long rest or a short rest, does it cost money for FCG to use hit dice? You know, remember he said several times, I don't have any money. You guys have to pay for everything. Right. The gondola rides, don't care about money because it's like, we don't need that.
Right.
Yep. But like it must cost materials or something, and materials cost money. I don't know. Right.
I don't know.
You know, because like, don't know. Or maybe if FCG is so special that they can actually regenerate without external stuff. You know, you can turn into a turtle with polymorph. Maybe there's a little something special. Where's that voice coming from? Well,
you clearly have a soul if you're changing into animals.
In that way, I think
so.
It's pretty,
he has to. I mean,
seems pretty obvious, right?
Unless this is like the fact that he is a cleric. It is a cleric. They are a cleric.
It's not an sort of asshole.
Yeah. Well, the fact that they have a soul, or they are a cleric, means they have a soul, means that, well, it doesn't mean, but I'm jumping has to have a divinity. The divinity of some kind. Where's the magic? Otherwise, where's the magic coming from?
Yeah.
I mean, is it Dancer, or was it Dancer's deity that she infused into?
I like that theory.
Into them when Dancer built them.
It's hard to do. That's an interesting theory. Yeah. I mean, that makes a lot of sense, right?
It's kind of where I've been leaning for a while now, but I don't know what Matt and Sam have up their sleeves. Like they've got their own little agenda that we don't know about and won't find out about probably for a while.
Yeah, Dancer
I'm
seems like a
hoping not for a while.
very interesting type of character
Yep.
that
Yep. Probably
obviously a
an artificer,
tinkerer and then
an
some other kind
artificer,
of
I think.
divinity.
It'd be a Tyrion Darrington sort of a character where
Right.
an artificer that builds lots of things. Like Tyrion built Dodie and Dodie 2.0. And I think that FCG and oatmeal and apple pie and pussy are probably kind of the same thing. That
No, but I wonder if the
they
other
were
ones had
creations.
some semblance of a soul. I mean, he said that
Yeah, we
Pussy
don't
did
know.
not have a lot of opinions about stuff
That's
because
right.
that wasn't their
That's right.
designation, right?
Yes, that's right.
Oh.
Oatmeal was the cook, I think,
Probably.
or apple pie was one of them. Was the way? Who knows?
What's fresh cut grab? What, like, you know, what
He
was their
his
purpose?
his designation was communication, was empathy. It was like your designation is to look after the soul,
What a
soul
designation.
soul.
Empathy.
Soulful.
That's a hell of a designation.
Yeah.
Your
Your
job,
desi-
your role here is
Yeah.
to connect
Help
with people.
connect with people. Yeah. And Sam plays it to a T. Like that's what he every time. Oh, that must have been really hard on you. You want to talk about that? It's like all the time. He's always bringing things like that up. I think that's sort of what I don't where it comes from. I don't know. We'll find out in the backstory. It's cool.
Did we get a number as far, you know, because there's fresh cut grass, oatmeal, there was apple pie,
Apple pie
pussy,
and pussy.
but it's
Yep.
was that it, or was there more to the
He
list?
said
or
there was
did
only
just
no. He
people
said
just
there was only
stop
4.
at that point, and they're just
No,
like,
he said there was 4.
lost it.
He actually, I think I'm pretty sure he said there was 4 of us. There was fresh cut. They were all 4 of us who were things that Dancer liked the smell of.
Felt like her favorite smells, right? And like
Right,
I
her favorite
felt like
smells.
he kind of left it like, there might be another one or something like that. And
Mm,
he's like, you know, there was me, there was oatmeal, there was apple pie, there
maybe,
was pussy. He just kind of said it
but I
like
don't
that.
think so.
And he didn't say
Yeah.
like, and there was pussy, you know? He just left it, and there was pussy. He knew that was going to be a slayer at the table.
Yes.
So maybe Sam was just like pausing for effect, as he definitely
Possibly.
should have, and looked
Mhm,
around for
mhm.
the fucking reaction. But it
I
was
think
still kind
so.
of left up in the air whether or not there was more or not, you know? And I don't think it's
Maybe.
been discussed yet
Nope.
whether or not there were more. you know?
Again, like every time they try and dig in deep, FCG is unable to provide information, and he glitches, or Imogen can't get into the thoughts or whatever. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
another thing too, you know, with like the whole soul aspect of it. It's like
Mhm.
you get better description from the words instead of diving into
Yeah. Yeah.
its head.
What is this thing?
Yeah. Lots
Wonderful.
more to discover. Man, I can't
Okay.
fucking wait. Like I
Mhm.
finally got my hopes up because that last point, you know.
Mhm.
There's
Hey,
a plan.
speaking of, it's
I
your
know there's a
point.
plan.
It's your point.
Didn't I already give the counterpoint?
Oh, is that you gonna use that? Then let's roll again.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah. Let's go
Okay.
for another roll.
I'm in. I love it. More
Fucking hell,
rolls.
middle of the road, 10.
12.
Wow. Jeez.
Okay.
Tables have turned once again. Go ahead, bud.
Okay, I'm going to jump into my favorite one, and we talked about this online. We chatted about this already because I couldn't hold it back. On the YouTube, I don't know the actual moment on. I'm guessing it's like 1:45 on the Twitch stream,
Oh, yeah.
but on the YouTube. Oh yeah, no, I sent you the exact timestamp online on our
Yeah,
text thread.
it was for the
one
the Twitch.
140 something, but it's
144
130 on
something.
the 130 exactly on the YouTube stream, because I
Oh,
went
wow.
and
Look at that.
I wanted to watch it again. The 130 on the YouTube stream where they meet Lord Preston Drodelon, the Lord of the Quad Roads. Now listen, I don't really have a point about this, but I just think it's one of the greatest moments in Critical Role history. This is one of those moments where when as soon as he said Lord of the Quad Roads,
Travis and I had the same exact face.
Travis looked up like with that. It couldn't have been written clearer on his face. WTF.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck? And nobody else at the table did it. I've watched it like 5 times. Everybody else at the table was just like, oh yeah, whatever, another boring Lord. But Travis right away, and then he starts yelling at everybody, and then he's like, that guy is this the guy, blah blah blah, they pulled the card, and then and Sam and who sits beside Marisha both pulled out their phones and started texting, and Laura, they're all texting furiously to each other
Yeah,
so that everybody would pick up on it.
into
Because
the group
Ash
thread,
in the group thread, and Ashley didn't pick up on it, but Ashley a minute later looks at her phone, and when she looked up, the shit-eating cat caught the mouse grin on her face was palpable. And then the conversation that she has, like, oh, you must have had to kill a lot of people to get the title of Lord. Do you ever wish anything else?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
just
Do any of those ever come true?
Beautiful. Just chef's kiss on that one, Matthew Mercer. So good.
I was
So
sitting there
good.
on my balcony listening to that, just listening to it, and I had my, my phone's here, my iPad's here, so I'm doing my bullshit on my iPad and watching the episode here. And as soon as I heard Quad Roads, I went like the same fucking face that Travis had, because I was like, Quad Roads. I've only heard that one other time, and I was like, Quad Roads, Lord. And then I saw his reaction, and he was like. And then he looked over across, and it seemed like Marisha was number 2 to get it, because she looked over and she was like, and Travis was like, like you could hear him whispering if you really listen carefully, with headphones in and shit.
Yes.
And she was like, what? And he was like, the cards and shit,
Yeah.
And then
Yep.
at that point, I think Sam was maybe paying attention or something, and he was just like,
Sam got it right away, and then he picked up his phone instantly and starts texting on his phone to the group or something, whoever he was texting to. I don't know. But at one point, like a minute later, Sam even says, Matt, I love it. I love it, Matt. I love it.
Yeah.
Like,
so
it's just
good, man. I love it. Yeah.
So good. Yep. Just for those that don't know what we're talking about, this is callback to episode 95 of Critical Role Campaign.
Wow, you
1.
did your research. Fuck.
Well, I told you about this. So what happened is, the reason why I caught it right away is I literally watched episode 95 earlier in the day. I was off on Friday because Friday was a holiday down here in Kaohsiung. So in the morning I had watched 94, and then I was starting 95, and episode 95 is the one right after a year later. 95 is the episode 1 year later. And so they're all going through the progression of what they do over the course of the year. And Travis was like, well, Grog gets bored, and then he goes down and does this.
Think he would have this for a whole fucking year and not pull a card?
I love that when he looks at Laura and says, "You think?" He's like, "So? You think he would have this for a year and not do it? What's wrong with you?" Just that beautiful moment. So I had watched that earlier in the day, and then when episode 13, when C3 episode 13 comes up, I'm like, no way.
That's insane, dude.
I paused it, and then I sent you that message right away. I hadn't even watched it yet. Yeah, I sent you that.
No spoilers. As soon as he 144, said, blah.
Yeah, and I was like, because I literally paused it and I looked at the timestamp and I sent you the thing. I'm like, here's when it happens, man. Mark this. I'm no spoilers, but this is when it happened, because I just watched it earlier. Blew me away. So this is episode 95 is when Grog's second use of the deck of many things. The first one being the sword that then was the Medusa's curse, but the second pull was the 1d4 wishes. Yeah, and Grog didn't pull the card. He gave it to
person, so bum. He's not pulling a card. He found a drunkard in an alley somewhere, not in the Quad Roads.
In Vasselheim. No,
in
it was
Vasselheim, but in
Vasselheim in the Quad Roads.
In the Quad Roads? Okay.
Yes,
but he definitely wasn't a lord.
No, he was not a lord of the Quad Roads.
So he pulled the card as a drunken fucking idiot.
Yep.
Yeah. And then they sat there for a second, and then he was like, did he say the wish outwardly or did he not?
Yes, he did. The first wish. Yeah. Well,
I wish to be a lord of the Quad Roads.
I wish to be a lord of the Quad Roads. Yeah. And then all of a sudden it's like he becomes clean. He's wearing nice clothes.
Chariot shows up or something.
A servant is there in the alley saying, "Are you ready, my lord?" And he's like, yes, I am. And he goes away, and Grog's like, Grog's just standing there like flabbergasted.
Fucking hell, man. That's insane that you were watching that earlier that day. That's insane.
Lacey, what are you eating? Oh God, what did you just eat?
You You got to get something out of her mouth.
Sorry, 1 sec. Yep, maybe. Come here.
I'll entertain him. So this episode has been sponsored by...
Oh, God. I think she just ate something that's not okay. I think she's okay. I just glanced over and she's like...
We're not sponsored.
Gagging on something.
Oh, fuck.
I'm worried. I think she's okay.
She all right?
I hope so. I don't know. It's gone now, whatever it was.
You keep a clean place. She should be all right.
Yeah. I hope it was definitely something.
Luna's not in her spot anymore, so
I'm sure I'll find out tomorrow what it was. Anyway, yeah, that's my point. Lord Preston Drodelon, and then he comes back later in the episode too, which is kind of funny. He comes back at the dance where Fern gets super creepy with Fern, and it gets all weird.
Yeah. He's got an open mind towards relations. It turns out
very much.
I mean, anyway. They hit on a fey creature with hooves. I mean,
yes,
hey, I'm not judging, not kink shaming, but
nope.
You know, and also
definitely
not just one person. Hey, let's check it out. You know, I mean, the time difference between then and now, what is that? Like 25 years, 30 years, something like that?
More than 30.
More than 30?
Because it was Mighty Nine was 30 years, and then this happens after that.
A couple years or something.
Only a couple. So it's around 30 years, 30 plus years later.
Yeah.
Yep.
So he's just a fucking creepy old dude.
He
fell into money.
probably in his 20s or 30s when Grog met him, and then he'd be in his 60s or 70s at this point. Yeah. Something like just that, maybe.
Like happened to upon this fortune, and that's the worst way to get fortune.
Yeah, well, even Matt even said,
worst.
Yeah, Matt even said, he's like, upon closer inspection of this guy, you realize that he's a little threadbare, a little sallow, a little bit chewed up and spit out, and
a little fraying at the seams and stuff. Yeah, he doesn't really know how to do it, but he is that person because he got fucking. I'm curious what his other wishes were.
New money.
He
only had one, right?
The other wishes.
He only had two. He had one. He had two wishes.
Oh, they rolled for that, right?
The first wish was to be the Lord of the Quad Roads. They don't say what the second one was. So in episode 95, he rolled a 2 on a D4. So he had 2 wishes.
I thought it was a 3.
Pretty sure it was a 2. Maybe I could be wrong.
Probably wrong. I don't know. Fuck, I don't remember. You just saw it. You're probably right.
Yeah, well, I just watched it on Friday. So yeah, anyway. Okay, that's me. What do you got?
That's my first I think that was in there with it.
Okay.
Unless I come back with something else.
You got another one, or we roll again?
I'll come back with this one.
Sure.
It's a quick one. It's a short one. Okay. I'm wondering if this also kind of goes in with the point before where I was like fucking like getting nervous that Matthew's like for some reason not prepared, which makes no sense. I understand. I'm just saying it was a concern of mine. If he's a little bit cautious or trepidatious, is that a fucking word? Trepidatious?
Yeah,
I mean,
great word.
About
I like trepidatious.
All right, I like it more than cautious if it is actually a word. About the scenarios and the situations, because he's got Imogen who can read into minds, and also FCG who can read into minds. This is a new thing as far as I'm seeing as in the campaigns, and for Matthew as a DM. So like he would like if she can just like in the first campaign when Vex could read lips.
Oh yeah.
Matthew had to keep that in mind. She's like, I can read lips, remember? And he's like, fuck yeah, you can see their lips. All right, so here's what you see, you know. And now she can read minds, and FCG can also do that too. So I think that's another level that Matthew has to like prepare for and be ready for.
Totally.
You know, and how do you do that shit? And like maybe I've never DM'd. My whole experience is the show. So like how do you prepare for something that can read minds potentially?
I think you just have to my take on that right off the hop is just that you have to have the NPCs fleshed out enough.
Right.
You have to have
scenarios fleshed out enough.
Backstories for them on demand. You have to have like an idea of, well, okay, Armand Treshy is doing this and he's going to do that, and he comes from there and he's always thinking about that. General what the hell is the general's name? Ratanish. General Rotanish. You have to think about you have to know, okay, well, General Rotanish is a brute. He did this in this war and he was a hero of this. And so his mindset is like that. And he's only thinking about these things. Matt has to have a page for each of these important NPCs. And then for the not important ones, I think generally for the non-important ones, you just make it up as you go. You just sort of like, okay, well, this is right. This guard, like you think about Chetney's interactions with those guards, like what they're thinking, and sort of like, oh man, we're gonna miss the fight, and so sad that we got posted back here. It's like that's just sort of common sense stuff in the world that where minor characters are, minor NPCs are, and you know what the major RPCs they have to be fleshed out. So if a PC like Imogen comes in with detect thoughts and starts going deeper and deeper and deeper, then you're going to have more and more and more information for Matt to give the character.
Yeah. And I think I've mentioned it before, like in an episode that we've had, or maybe it was before we streamed or podcast, how Matthew, it's something that it must come with experience or something like that, or just being able to have this whole fucking thing mapped out all the time.
Yep.
He never says something like, I don't know, this. You never see him say that. Like the closest he ever really got was when he was making up that word in Abyssal or whatever the fuck that was in campaign 1, where it's like and he's like, yeah, sure, no, that's canon. Ermagerd. That's no.
Ermagerd.
You know?
Yep.
And he was like, yeah, fuck it. Like, I'm not going to come up with the language on the spot,
I think it means you're welcome or thank you.
Something like
that. Something banal like that, where it's just Ermagerd. That's what that means.
In this? And he's like, Guthok, I'm pretty sure is what he said. And they're, and they're like, so how do you say no? And he's just sitting there like,
fuck off, guys. Stop it.
Come on, man. Like,
I'm not Tolkien. I'm not inventing languages here.
I haven't written the languages. I'm just, fuck. Like... But he never does it. Like if she's like, oh, so what's that person thinking? He doesn't go like, I don't know. Like, he never throws up a hand and just like goes like, be like, okay, go ahead. Make a roll. And
absolutely,
he has a tell. That's when he's thinking.
Several. He is human.
He is. We're 50 minutes in, man. We haven't even touched on Legend of Vox Machina.
Okay. Let's do that right now.
Blast through a little bit.
Move. Let's go.
Gears at this point.
I do. I got a couple more things to say about 13, but they're not that important. I'll throw one more out there. Or do you want to do a rollie for this one?
Yeah, let's do one quick rollie for this one.
Okay.
Let's do a quick.
And let's each do a quick point. Nothing in depth. Just a quick one.
Yeah.
I'll do this. Ready?
Fuck. I can't do it today, man.
What'd you get?
3.
I got a 4. That's
You're on a roll tonight.
That's amazing. Hey.
What you got?
Okay. So mine is going to be I'm just gonna throw this out there about Lady Emoth. So Chetney, when he takes off into the room, and then he opens the door in the suite, right? Those little suites that are in the back of the ballroom. He goes in past the guards, opens the door up, takes a look in, hears a bunch of noises. Emoth comes out, sweating, shuts the door, and Chetney goes back to the ballroom, tells Dorian, oh yeah, Emoth is back in there, and blah, she's sweating and blah, blah, blah. and then Dorian's like, what the fuck? It's like, okay, whatever. And then Chetney goes back to the suite, opens the door again, picks the lock this time, but the lock was easy to pick because it had been damaged, which was a little fun little note there. I thought that was kind of cool to do. Goes back in. What do we got here? And he sees the tiny little figures looting the room. Clearly shade creepers, but he's never seen them before, so he doesn't know what they are. These are those little fucking shade creepers that explode when they fought. Lady Emoth is changed into like the black veins and like the viscous, mucusy sweat dripping down, the same as Duggar. Now, my question is, what does that mean? Like, big picture here. This is, again, going back to Matt having all of these plates up in the air and juggling all of these things. Why? What is this? what is going on in this, that this is like, so in the, what were they called? The Corsairs. Duggar was a member of the Corsairs and then went into this house and had his little house. And then they moved the furniture and they see the hole that goes down into like hundreds of feet, thousands of feet into the spire underground. That's where the shade creepers are coming up from. But this is at this is at the top of the Lucent spire. This is so those grinding noises that Chetney heard were clearly Lady Emoth moving furniture out of the way so the shade creepers could come in and loot this room. Why are they looting a suite in a ballroom? Why? What possible shit could they be getting from this? It's like trinkets. These are like little candlesticks and books and furniture pieces and little nonsense tchotchkes and stuff. And why is Emoth doing that? Like, why is she, who is like Lady Emoth, who is coming in with Armand Treshy, who is of the House Treshy, one of the most Mahan houses in the city? What is, I'm absolutely baffled. What is going on in the clockworks of this campaign? I do not understand what this means.
Yeah.
I'm so confused.
I believe this is hypothetical, to say the least.
Yep.
Because all that stuff, I was a little lost on exactly what was going on there. I didn't think about the shade creepers, unless they outright said it. But if they did, I missed it.
They did. Marisha says, well, they're shade creepers, right? And Matt's like, he's never seen shade creepers. He doesn't know. But it kind of based on what you guys told him about these things, yeah, it could be shade. They could be shade creepers.
Sure.
There was a brief little conversation about that. Yeah. Very brief.
Which is great because it sounds like some combats might be coming up pretty soon, which we haven't seen in a little while. You know, the last combat we saw was fucking
like 3 or 4 episodes
tables
ago,
and chairs and fucking
in the night with the Nightmare King.
Yeah.
Yep.
Which was 3 episodes ago, right?
Or, sure.
This one, so 13, 12, 11, right?
Something like that. Yeah. 11 was the Nightmare King episode. So I'm just confused. I'm not saying in a bad way, because I like being confused like this. I think it's great, but I generally, I can usually pick out where the threads are going to go, because we have the advantage of, sort of like being able to dissect things and in not in real time, but in like over a week, and sort of try and figure things out. But this one has me lost. I do not understand it. I've looked through the social medias, I've looked through the Reddits and the Facebooks and the things. Nope. None of it makes sense. None of it. I've read a bunch of theories that are weaker than anything I could come up with. It's just nobody knows. Nobody knows. There's some of them, actually, that's not totally true. Some of them are kind of interesting, that say it's part of a coup, it's a revolution, that this is like the lowers coming up and trying to overthrow the city, like Lord Ashtaroth has been saying, like, oh, this is the only way that we can have real change is blah blah blah. But that doesn't really make sense, because it doesn't. Whatever. I didn't want to make this a long point, but I'm so lost.
Could be connected to the attack on the Ashari as well.
Could be. Well, it is. It definitely is, because he said they were the same sort of thing. So It's definitely a far-reaching thing and years ago thing, which is, yeah. Anyway, that's me. What do you got?
That's how plots go.
It is.
I got a lot of lines for this one, but it's just basically just like kind of a compliment, basically.
Nice.
Because I don't have an answer for the hypothetical, of course, but
no, nor do I, and I'm not really looking for one. I've just got it.
Yeah. I have written here that the whole Ashley Johnson and Fern is this campaign's Taliesin and Caduceus.
Yeah.
She has found her fucking stride.
Yeah.
As an RP
Hell
person.
Yeah.
There's so much of Ashley in Fern, I think, and a lot of people don't really notice that. They'll see the first campaign and they'll be like, oh, she's just so nice and sweet and innocent. That's not Ashley. If you ever watched Vox Machina, or if you anything where Ashley gets candid about stuff, like Between the Sheets, or basically Vox Machina in Between the Sheets, you'll learn a little bit more about Ashley and how she's got a vicious side,
Hell yeah,
and a bit of a chaotic side.
Hollywood
right now
tends to
she's
do
playing
that to child
Fern,
actors.
which is chaotic and kind of good, neutral. I'm not sure. You
Yeah, I
know,
don't know.
so far seems pretty neutral, except for I don't
Fake
know. She's
creatures tend to be chaotic, neutral, chaotic, lawful.
yeah, 'cause it's a whole different realm.
Lawful.
It's like who gives a
Yeah,
shit about this stuff, right? But
yeah.
I'm just loving it. When she comes into combat, she just
Chaotic
turns
good
into
is
a
the word I
fucking
meant.
infant and she forgets numbers, she forgets
Hmm.
all kinds of
Hmm.
shit. But when it comes to RP, like when she was she was dancing and she wanted to get out of dancing, she cast
Yeah.
something like
Uh,
I have here like primal rage,
primal savagery.
primal savagery, thank you.
It's
Where
not a
like
spell, it's
teeth
an ability.
grow or something and then the eyes she
Yes.
said go crazy
Yeah.
and then
It's
she
a
says like
Fey
I don't
thing.
want to dance with you.
Yeah.
And
Mm-hmm.
like leaves that. It's just like, fuck, what the fuck
Mm-hmm.
are you
Mm-hmm.
doing?
Mm-hmm.
And then later on, she brings back. She was like, I just got engaged, you know, like because somebody threw a ring at her. And I'm like, I had completely forgotten
Oh.
about that
Yep.
aspect, but
Yep.
Ashley did
Yep.
not, nor did Fern because of
Mm-hmm.
that. And
Mm-hmm.
Ashley's just really in her element, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Like back in those episodes where it's like, oh, Taliesin at Ren Fair, he's a fucking,
In his
he's
element. Yeah.
royalty, you know.
Yep.
And then here in this character,
Oh,
she's found a kinship or something of that.
yes.
So basically, just a
Absolutely.
compliment towards her with her RP, her
Mm-hmm.
fucking
Mm-hmm.
battle shit, man. You gotta shape up, man. Stop
Well, it's
forgetting
just
all of the things, but
I think just
RP,
I
holy
think
fuck.
numbers freak her out. I think somebody's just got to make it a simplified little cheat sheet for her instead of using the app. They need to like the app is great. D&D Beyond is amazing, but I think somebody needs to make like a little cheat sheet for her on paper where she can just go if this then that, if this then that, and
Yeah.
that's it. I think that would help her a lot.
Yeah, like with the in campaign 2 with Yasha, there was like at each level, it was like it's whatever you attack plus 7.
Yeah,
Forget everything. This
forget
weapon
everything
and
else. Yep,
raging, it's plus
yep.
7. If
A
you're
seven.
not
That's right.
raging, it's plus 5. If it's,
The
you know,
I played D&D number of years ago, one of my first fifth edition campaigns in Taiwan. It might have been the very first fifth edition campaign in Taiwan. I was playing Pathfinder a lot back then. The one of the guys had never played D&D before. I'd always wanted to play D&D. So we gave him, the DM was like, play a barbarian. That's the easiest. It's the play a Conan the Barbarian style barbarian. And it's
yeah.
nice and simple.
Go in,
And
pack it up.
level 8, level 9, we're still reminding him it's plus 7 when you're raging, dude. It's plus 7. Just it's like, yeah. It just, some people just listen to this. And he was really good at RPing. If you're listening, you know who you are. He was really good at RPing, really good at like having fun and playing the game. Numbers, not so much. The sometimes the number thing throws people. For me, I love it. Simple math. I get it wrong sometimes, but I love
Abilities
the
and
yeah,
spells, and you know, it's like,
yeah,
dude, this is your character. You should know
yeah.
this
You should
shit.
know.
I
You
mean,
should know.
I get in this campaign, battle
Sure.
doesn't happen that much, so you know, I'll give
Yep.
that to her. But you
Mm-hmm,
know,
mm-hmm.
come on, Ashley. This is the third campaign.
Absolutely.
You've been
All
here
right.
for this whole one. Come on, you got to know your character in battle, not just RP.
We
Anyway,
we need to get into LoVM here
yeah, it's
because
already over an hour.
we're
We
gonna
haven't talked about Legend of Vox Machina.
right,
Let's get a few
and we're gonna
points out there, because
let's get a few points of Legend of Vox Machina and then go because
yeah,
I got a pup that I know is bursting at the seams.
oh yeah,
Wherever
she's
wherever she
eating
is.
shit, so you make her take her
Yeah.
out.
Yep.
All
I
right,
know
let's start with a roll,
she's
yeah.
all right. Let's go.
All right. Hey, finally got a good one. 19.
I got a 5.
A 5 and a 19. All right, things
There
are
we go.
fucking turning around.
Okay, so what do we? What do you
I'm
got? What do you got? What do you got?
gonna start with my very first point here. What I have written down is voice actor meets character. What I mean by that is, for a very good example, I will say a video game that I fucking loved, definitely video game of the year for me, was The Last of Us Part 2. Now,
Ooh,
I don't know if
very
you know much about that,
nice.
but
Of course
Ashley
I do.
Johnson played one of the main characters. I'll leave it at that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to spoil shit that I don't need to. And then it was kept a very big secret until the game was released that Laura
Yep.
Bailey played a different character in the game, a very main
Yep.
character in that game. Now, when I played
Yes.
the game, I played the first one. I knew it was Ashley Johnson, but I played the game, and there was a point in that first one where it was no longer Ashley Johnson, it was Ellie.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I was watching and playing the game, and it's a cinematic game, and I was like, this is Ellie. Like I know it's Ashley's voice, but it's the character and the voice have meshed.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
and that's how I'm seeing it now. And then when the second one came out, I heard the voice and I was like, that's fucking Laura. And it was a secret up until that point, you know, and I
Mm-hmm.
got that game immediately and I played it and I was like, that's fucking Laura Bailey. I know
Mm-hmm.
that's Laura Bailey.
Mm-hmm.
So I double checked it and it said, there you go, that's Laura Bailey.
Yep.
And for the first bit, when I was hearing that character's voice in the game, I'm like, I can't do it. I'm seeing Laura in my head, but I'm seeing this character when I'm playing the game.
Sure.
Wasn't working, and I didn't like it. I was like, that's too familiar. You know, it's like having your mom read a book for you. You know, then in like she's reading orcs and fucking Tolkien, right? It's like
Right.
that's my mom. But eventually, at some point, those things meet. And for me, that was episode 4 of Legends of Vox Machina.
Oh yeah.
In episode 4, like especially with Keyleth and Percival, especially with those two. And I have another point about that later if it comes up. It really clicked. Like I wasn't seeing Marisha and I wasn't seeing Taliesin anymore. In episode 4, it switched right over, and I'm watching the show like I don't know campaign 1.
Exactly.
And it's so nice when you get to that point that you can just sit back
and
and enjoy it as a spectator.
I know exactly what you're talking about, man. And episode 4, like 1, 2, 3 were good, but episode 4, the show hits its stride.
Is that what happened? Because I couldn't tell if it was
it's
just
what I felt. No, I felt it, and I mean, and I've read it. A lot of people on Reddit. A lot of people have said that they're like, episode 1 is great, episode 2 is great, episode 3 is great, but when episode 4 hits, suddenly you're like, oh, here it is. This is the show we've been waiting for, and it's like climbing, and then episode 4, fucking rocket ship to the moon. Like it is. Yeah. Just takeoff time. It's really hit.
Because
it's also episode 4 also has that epic wraith battle that is not doesn't happen. It doesn't happen in.
I was so confused when it started
1.
happening.
Yeah, well,
so this is.
I'm going to go into my point because this is my point about the big thing about these first 9 episodes is that they have changed so much in every good way possible. I love it. It's like this is the show that fills in all the gaps of the pieces that we missed from campaign 1. This is all of those little minute details that they've just twisted enough. So it's like, so in campaign 1, I think they were invisible stalkers, and in Legend of Vox Machina, they are wraiths, like with the wraith stat block. So they're fucking horrible monsters.
But
these are
necrotic damage they do. The way that Matthews described it in Critical Role, it's like, and you see this black ichor dripping from their eyes because of that necrotic damage or something like that. And when that first one passes through Vex, I'm just like, you can't do that to her.
and when it grabs Keyleth and drags her up the wall,
and she's twitching about. Oh, dude, that wrecked me. It wrecked me.
I know, and that's what I'm saying. So like when that, and then Keyleth has that moment of the daylight spell or whatever it is. I don't know. They're very vague about what these spells are and what they may possibly do. But that hero movement, moment. It's beautiful, and I think
you knew it was coming because of course, they were like, Keyleth, now or never. And then it just kind of goes back out to the castle and then just...
That's the thing. It's like episode 4 is so good that you start to realize that this is the show that we always wanted. And this is my point, is that this show is just... It slaps on every single occasion. Every moment is just bang, 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 bang. I love it. I can't get enough of it. It's if you've made it this far into this podcast and you're still paying attention and you're still watching and you haven't watched Legend of Vox Machina, do yourself a favor. Go watch one of the greatest cartoons of the 20th century. Just go do it. It's whatever cartoon animation.
Don't be a fucking moron. Go and get it right.
Go watch it. It's so good. Quick rolly.
Quick rolly. It's my second nat 20.
Hey, there you go. I guess that beats my 8.
And making up for all these fucking mid rolls.
Yeah, there you
That's kind. I already kind of talked about that. Taliesin Marisha in particular.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I do like it enough to mention it.
Do it.
When they're at the table, let's say Marisha in particular, because I'm about 1/3 of the way through the first campaign for the third time. When
Mm-hmm.
Marisha's at the table, when she's like doing RP, and she's like, it's kind of like maybe an important moment. I love how Marisha, as an actress, like kind of fucks up her idioms, and stuff like that. And because she's in the moment, and there's like 30,000 people watching, so she's probably a little
Mm-hmm.
like, oh shit, in her head trying to act.
Yep.
And the way she speaks as Keyleth, she goes breathy, and she tries to go kind of
Mm-hmm.
gaudy and be like, "It's all we have to do," and like she's trying to make it a serious moment and be like, people are counting on us and we have to do, and she's coming through, this kind of breathy
Mm-hmm.
thing,
Big, lot of projection. Lot of
yeah.
projection.
And
Mm-hmm.
she doesn't sound like that at all in Legend of Vox Machina.
No, no.
The booth Marisha and the table Marisha,
Yeah.
wildly different
Wildly different.
for
And in a
this
good
story.
way, in a very good way,
In a
because
very good way.
Keyleth in these early
particular,
episodes. Oh,
yeah, really came into that character. When I see Keyleth in the animation,
yeah.
I don't see Marisha anymore. I see
Mm-hmm.
it really came into the character.
Yeah,
And
it's
then
so
also,
naive, so lost, so innocent and unassuming, and just
Yeah.
like, guys, I don't know.
and she's playing it so well too. And like
Yeah.
the animations where she's like, just sitting there, her knees bunched up, but she's this
Mm-hmm.
incredibly powerful fucking thing.
Mm-hmm.
They're doing such a good job. And then also with
It's
Taliesin, I'm speaking quickly here because I don't want to go
go
over
for
too long.
Mm-hmm.
Especially with Taliesin, who's known at the table to what's the word we used? Stumble.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Is that the word we said? Stumble over his words
Yeah.
sometimes.
Yeah.
He'll
Yep.
there was at one point I loved it in campaign 2, even when he was Caduceus, where he was really well in that role. He
Mhm.
was talking to somebody important. I don't remember what it was, but
At the court of King Dwendal, when he's like, "Oh, I guess I'm talking now. Oh boy, I can't believe this is me." And yeah, that was in the court of King when they meet King Dwendal for the very first time in
and
the
what it was,
Dwendalian Empire.
the
Yeah.
response, if it was the king, the response was, no, I think it was the druid, the giant druid. They're like, you speak in confusing circles, but I think I understand what you're saying. Do you remember that?
Oh yes,
Because he
I
was
do.
saying
Yes.
something, but he was going Taliesin instead of
Yes.
Caduceus.
Okay, that's the moment you're talking about. I remember that's the one also.
Where he was like,
Yes,
said
yes.
something very simple, but he took like 5 minutes to say it.
Yes. You speak in big circles. Yes.
Yeah. You speak in
That's right.
confusing circles, but I
Confusing
think I
circles.
understand your drive.
Yes.
In the show, in the animation, there's none of that. There's no improvising. It's a script.
No,
and
it's a
he's in a
script.
microphone.
Exactly. Yep.
And you can really see how fucking talented Taliesin is as a voice actor and delivering these lines. Percival in the show is a badass. I've got a little bit of a man crush on him.
Yeah, the raw emotion that Taliesin puts into Percy's personality, the voice, the
personality.
All of that, like that, it's really, really, really spot on. It's bang on.
You can easily see how professional that motherfucker is.
Hell yeah.
So good. I don't see really Taliesin when Percival is talking at all.
When he puts the mask on, the Raven mask, and it goes on, and it's just the voice changes
into a different person.
Yeah, you can hear Taliesin emphasizing the evil comes out. It's so good. The warlock patron, that little what was the warlock's name? Or not the warlock, the patron. I don't remember the name.
No, it wasn't Orcus.
I think it is Orcus.
Was it Orcus?
Right. I think it's Orcus. Yep. Anyway, my quick one, if you're good.
Yeah.
Okay. My quick one is I'm on episode 96, 97, 98, somewhere around there of campaign 1, my rewatch through. And Matt breaks and looks at the camera and is like, remember, all you DMs out there, balance your fucking magic items that you give the party.
Yeah.
It made in episode 7, Scanbo, the Scanbo episode where Scanlan breaks into the mansion and don't worry, I can totally do this. I got this. and he's got a bag of potions and the scroll. And
Yep.
I love the way that, because in campaign 1, when he fucks up the mansion, he bursts in as a triceratops.
Yeah.
But in this one, he does the blur potion. And I also, just a quick little point, I love the way the potions last about 4 seconds. I think that's fucking amazing.
Yeah.
So he blur,
It's pretty accurate,
Nightcrawler,
to
yeah,
D&D.
it's amazing. He drinks the blur one, and it's like Nightcrawler, and then he can't do it anymore. Then he drinks another potion, and he turns tiny, a little reduced potion, and he turns, woo, who would ever want to do this? And he runs, and then the Duke's chasing him through, and then he does the dragon's breath potion, and he lights the whole mansion on fire and burns everything. And quick little fun note: when he's tiny, Scanlan is tiny, and he jumps onto that antler chandelier.
Yeah.
Right. Sam posted on Instagram the actual picture of of a chandelier at a ski resort in Boulder, I think, where he went on vacation a few years ago. That he's like, this chandelier at the ski resort is the inspiration for that chandelier in Legend of Vox Machina. So whoever, I'll go back and take a look at it, but well done there, guys. Well done. It's a beautiful big deer antler chandelier in the main room of this ski resort.
And we like to call them antler ear. Fucking it up. Antler ears?
Antler ears? Then he does the dragon's breath and lights the mansion on fire. And then as everything's burning down and he gets into the war room and he sees the map, which again, none of this happens in campaign 1 in the Scanbo episode. It's
artistic freedom. Is that the word? Is that the term?
So good. And he sees Port Daxio and he sees the Iman and he's like, what is this guy playing at? It's like, that's a callback from the episode later where Vax is reading notes and he gets the notes and he finds out some information. It's like they've taken bits and pieces that actually happen in the stream and shifted them, moved them to different places.
A good job.
It's brilliant. It's pure brilliance. I love it. But then my last point, when he takes the polymorph scroll and he sings it,
right.
And we get never tried singing it. We get so much singing from Sam in this episode that there's like 4 or 5 different moments of singing that are just glorious. Glorious. That's all I got for that. I just think it's just beautiful moments.
Yeah, I can respond off the cuff with that one. There was a note in there somewhere about it. Yeah, the artistic freedoms that they've taken, right? Artistic license, poetic license, artistic freedoms. And it's still, we are quite familiar with the story, especially parts like that, with the Triceratops.
Hell yeah, the epic, the big ones.
My initial thought was, because he didn't turn into a Triceratops, I thought they were going to leave that out because it was a dinosaur and it might be like too on the nose for the real world.
Remember when they, in episode 1, episode 2, when they're in Gilmore's Glorious Goods and there's the Triceratops skull in Gilmore's Glorious Goods.
Fuck. Well, hey, look at them tying it together.
Foreshadowing. I was like, oh, well, we're going to see the Triceratops then, for sure. And so I was, as soon as he goes into the, it's right there, man, right beside Sprinkle. So there's the Sprinkle Weasel in Gilmore's, and then right beside it is the Triceratops skull.
Didn't see Sprinkle.
What? You missed Sprinkle too? Oh man,
there's so much going on in that place. I'm just like, it's so glorious. And then
so many Easter eggs.
They're quick takes,
I know. You gotta go. You gotta look quick
through this much of the fucking arc in this many minutes. It's like, take. Like I caught the fact that they had their actual table that they play at in episode 4 with the raids.
Oh yeah,
I mean that's
so
an easy
good,
one,
man.
But
so
that's
good.
about as far as I get with those things.
Or when they walk in, when Scanlan rocks into the guards playing D&D. How fun was that? How cool of a fucking little Easter egg
roll
moment.
Something for this or whatever. Yeah.
Roll for damage, and he rolls a D6, and it's like, and then they all look up. That's great.
With the little DM screen and everything.
Yeah, it's so good. So good.
It's cute. Yeah.
Yep.
One thing about the with the polymorph, it was a scroll that he was using over and over again.
I know.
You know, which is like
Hey.
quite a difference from
Yep.
you know,
hmm
the
From
current
5e.
version that they play.
Yes.
What do you
Yes.
call it?
From fifth edition.
Fifth edition. Thank you.
Right. When you
5e.
read a
Yeah.
scroll, it's gone. Yes.
Right. You read a
So
skull, it goes away. Right.
and that's actually been across the board on almost all D&Ds. I think all editions is that when you read a scroll, it's gone.
It.
It's a one use
That's
thing.
it. Yeah.
Wizards copy them into the scroll books for a reason. It's why it's so expensive. It's why Liam or Caleb had to spend so much money, because he would get
Right.
the scrolls and then he would have to copy them and spend so much money into copying them into a spell scroll so he could use them over and over and over again.
Right.
So yeah, it is a big departure, but it's all good, man. Like the fact that Keyleth cast that giant wall of ice and the big sleet storm, and it's monstrous and this huge big thing. Like they're taking liberties, and it's animation,
and it's fine.
I love it. I love it.
And then I believe it was Vax who was like, "Where did that come from?" And she's like, "I don't know. I don't know." You know?
Yeah, it's Keyleth coming into her powers. Wonderful.
Same thing with. I need to come back to Scanlan in a second, but same thing with Pike in episode 9.
Oh,
you know?
Okay. Yes, let's talk about that, because that's my next point.
Well, I need to go back to Scanlan first, but like, coming to that one, I'm like, oh boy, that's a lot. That's a lot.
Yep.
But we'll come back to that in a second.
It's more than a lot. It is the most.
It's insane. And if you're still here and you haven't seen it, get the fuck out of here. Go watch it and then come back and watch this. But we're going to come back to that in a second. With Scanlan, quick little things. The scroll, instead of it just being a polymorph spell, I was like, okay, so they're taking quite a bit of a departure from actual rules of D&D. Started making me think, like, it's not really a show about D&D.
No.
It's characters
exactly
with plot lines.
It's based on Critical Role. It's based on Campaign 1, they were playing D&D, but this is like high fantasy in animation form. It's wonderful. It's like there doesn't need to be explanations for how things work. There doesn't need to be mechanics. It just has to be fun to watch.
It's just
and I think
entertaining as fuck.
Yeah.
Is what it is. And they're doing a fantastic fucking job of it.
So
as a point, I probably watched it 7 or 8 times. It's not a very long thing, but like after Scanlan had the potion of fire breath or potion of dragon breath or whatever the fuck it's called in the campaign, I knew what it was when he had it, and he was like, because it was kind of red, and he was like, "Yep, last one," and he drank it, and it was like,
and you're like, "Oh,
I'm like, I know what this is." All right. I was wondering if they were gonna put this in. Okay, cool. And then like he got in a little bit of trouble and just like flashed it out there. And then there was one moment where he said something like, "Oh, well, that was convenient," or whatever. And then some guard like comes into the shot. He's just sitting there just like, "Oh." He just launches it at the motherfucker for a moment. They burn up, and he just goes right back to like, "Oh, jeez."
Oh boy, it's
the
so
look on his face and
Mhm.
just like the sound that he made, and that he tracked the person with his mouth. I laughed so fucking hard at that moment.
I know. Well, I laugh too, because it's very Tom and Jerry. It's like straight out of those old cartoons, like the real old ones, Goof Troop and Tom and Jerry, and oh man, it's brilliant.
It's like the age-old joke of projectile vomit, just like, all right.
Yep. Okay, I'm back to normal. Back to normal.
Let's do the Pike conversation and try to keep this below 1 hour and 30 minutes. Man, let's go. Many things to talk about. Jeez.
The way that they pulled Pike out of the conversation by having her try to rediscover her faith, bring it in. She has this giant traumatic struggle. It happens every episode, and then all of a sudden, because that's explaining Ashley's absence for Blind Spot, right? And then all of a sudden, she comes back in and gets transported down as an astral projection, lightning through the skies and the astral projection, and that whole gag of, "Pike, are you dead?" No, I'm just here. It's astral projection. And then she just nukes the giants with the undead giants, and then Grog chopping his way through that giant, chopping it in half. And the best part, like let's talk about this best part.
Grog chopping that thing in half. Oh, him and Vax competing. Mine fell first. He was just like down to the ground. I loved it.
Lumberjacking his way through this
the animation was so good, because it's just Travis being Travis, That's another
Yeah.
one that actually came in really well. Travis
Oh,
Intergrog's
100%.
character.
Yeah, Travis into Grog is so good. You
Yeah,
forget it's Travis because it's so good.
yeah.
Just
Seeing the
another quick
background
one.
when he's chopping through the giant, you see the
hmm
background, you can
hmm
see it going down, and you're just like,
Yeah.
it's amazing.
I
It was
love
amazing.
another quick little point, just a sidebar on talking about backgrounds and stuff. I love the fact that they use CGI for the zombie hordes. Like there
Oh
are
yeah.
shots of the zombie hordes where they're bringing the CGI back in again. Just beautiful. I love it. People are like upset they're not doing full animation for this, but I'm like, no, for this stuff, that's exactly where they should be using the CGI for. It fits
Artistic license,
perfectly.
man. There's a
It's
reason
so
they're doing
good.
it,
It's
you know?
so good.
And I trust
Um,
them implicitly.
mhm.
Explicitly? Implicitly?
Implicitly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so the holy weapon, where
Yeah.
she gives everybody
Everybody.
the holy weapon. It's oof. That is, like I said, that's not a
It's
lot. That's the most.
It's
It's
huge.
huge.
It's the
It's
yeah, it's
huge.
not huge, it's the most.
Yep.
I didn't know how I felt about it, man. Because I'm like, wait, what's she doing? She's astrally projected. Like, there's no
Yeah.
real
Yep.
explanation for it.
I'm
But like you just said, it's an animation. Are you
it's animation.
entertained?
So it's she's now, I think the difference is that now going forward, she is going to be the champion of the Everlight. That's why she's able to do it. It's like this is your moment, champion. What are you going to do with this moment? And she's like, I'm going to be the champion, and the champion of the Everlight spreads the Everlight.
And here's
It
my
doesn't. You don't
problem.
just.
If she
Mhm.
can do it this
It's
time, why
yeah.
not do it every time?
Well,
And how are
may
they
not be
going to
able to
put
do
that
it.
into the
May not be
story?
able to do it every time. I think
Yeah.
that's the point.
Like maybe that was the reward for finding
Mhm.
herself back in the Everlight, you know? It's just like,
That's what I
they
think.
need
I
your
think
help,
that's
and
what
I can
they're
help you like this, but I'm going to be exhausted after
once.
that.
Yes.
Like,
Yeah.
this
And I
is your
hope that's
intervention.
and I think then she's right after this, after it's done, bye Pike. She's gone. She'll fade out and go back, and her astral projection will fade, and that will be it. And
Right.
then
Yeah, 'cause
Pike
she's
will
not actually
Pike
there. That's right.
she's not there, so Pike will have to come back to join the party if she does at some point. So the next episode may be her journey to meet up with them again or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, let's wrap this up. It's after we gotta.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you got a dog that's got a piss
I got
almost
a
as bad
dog.
as I do.
Yep. Let's do
Yeah,
this.
all right.
Announcements. I got nothing. I'm on the mend. I've had surgery, so I'm fixing myself. I got no other announcements other
No,
than that.
not really. The only thing that really coming up for me right now, shows right now, we're not booking anything because just to keep shit safe for all the
Yep.
COVID shit going on. The only announcement really is that I'm coming down to see your ass to play my very.
It's a secret. They're not watching.
If you're watching and you play games with this guy, turn it off right now. I'm gonna come down and play my first experience with actual D&D.
Yeah, man.
I
I'm
get to
excited
put these
about it.
dice on the fucking table out of my buddy's
Yeah,
place.
man.
I'm
Yeah,
excited
man. It's
about
gonna
it.
be fun. It's gonna be hella fun.
Yeah, that's the only thing on my
Um,
radar at the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
no shows.
Cool, man.
Yeah, fuck, man. Yeah, I'm gonna keep these points up here because they're basically talking points about any other episode that comes in the future. But yeah, next week we're gonna have a whole new episode of Critical Role and 3 new episodes.
Oh, it's so
Probably
good.
phenomenal
final.
episodes.
The
I'm
finals.
assuming of the
The
finale of
finale.
the first season. It's gonna be. I might be a crier. You know I'm a
Oh.
crier.
Yeah, man. I'll shed a tear if it's good. I have no
Yeah.
problem with that.
I probably will be. Yeah. So yeah, other than that, nothing on my radar.
Okay.
All right, we're gonna
Let's
call
call
it
it then.
You good?
Yep.
All right,
I'm
cool.
good.
Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in. Get in touch if you got any bullshit to tell us, any shit to say, anything to add whatsoever. Got the information right down there. And
Yep.
as always, don't forget to love each other. And is it finally Friday? Take care, y'all. We'll see you next week.
Peace.
I'm not forgetting the outro this time. Here we go. Take care, Ben. We'll see ya.
Take it easy, bud.